Something up. I think we're ready to go.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Budget Committee meeting for May 20th, our second meeting. And can we stand for a flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is the roll call from last meeting full?
Yes.
Okay. Brenda?
Yep.
Jerry Harris?
Here.
Robert Ungriga?
Here.
Phil Starnes?
Here.
Alan Smith?
Here.
Steve Rhodes?
Here.
Tammy Ashola?
Here.
Larry Albertson?
Here.
Ann Smith?
Here.
Rick Sherman?
Here.
And Kent Little here. Okay. Has everyone read the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Shall we dispense with the reading?
Dispense with the reading.
Would anyone like to make a motion to dispense with the reading?
I make a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes. I second.
Motion has been made and seconded to dispense with the reading of the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Can we have a motion to approve the minutes? There's a motion to approve the minutes. It has been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, I thought you started it.
Well, I started and Jerry's both at the
Okay.
same time. Pick one, it's easy.
All in favor to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item, the review of the budget. As chairman, I'd like to start out with a summarization of my point of view. So the first meeting, Steve presented a budget. He gave us 2 years of actual expenses for line items, 2 years, I think, of budget, or maybe just one, and then a proposed budget. He went through each line item, justifying the expense, justifying any changes to the expense, explaining his viewpoint on where we've been and where we wish to go in the next year. There were questions off and on that I think he answered well. I think he did a good job in the presentation. I do not have any more questions. You know, I think he made the changes that were brought up. I don't have any more questions for him personally. So at this point, let's throw it open for whatever questions we'd like. If you need him to go through something again, I'm sure he's happily willing to. So whatever you want to go through to create a budget for this coming year for the Rural Fire District. Let's do it.
I can summarize what I changed and how I changed the budget. I went back and I compared everything. So the AED, if you guys have a hard copy in your hand, the AED was in the capital outlay in the general fund, and it was also in the equipment fund under equipment purchase. So I took it out of the equipment fund, the equipment purchase, so that line item now shows zero. It doesn't really matter if it's in the capital outlay or the equipment fund, because the money's either in the general fund or the equipment fund. That AED is about $700, and it'll last 5 to 10 years. So in effect, it is capital equipment, so it's probably proper to be in the capital outlay where it is. So by taking that $700 out of the equipment fund, it reduced the total expenditures in the equipment fund So that increased what was reserved for future use by $700 in the equipment fund. So then that changes the appropriations and everything else down to the very bottom of the budget. I can compare them, but they're within, it's within about $500. And the reason why is when I went through every single line item 6011 fire equipment supplies, I had a $150 addition problem there. So I straightened that one out. So it changed, it added $150 to that line item, which added $150 to materials and services, which reduced the transfer to the equipment fund by $150. So it does about 10 things whenever you move something like that. So that's what I changed. So the whole budget, when you add it all up at the very bottom, is all the same, 809, 849. It's just that there's less, there's $150 more being expended in the general fund, but there's $700 less being expended in the equipment fund. And that's about it. That's about the best I can explain. And then I changed the justifications for that. It's every time, it's kind of funny, every time you change something, it changes 5 different things. And then between the secretary, because well, we'll talk about that later, but one last thing I have to do is the LB1, between the Secretary of State and the Department of Revenue, they consider stuff different. They don't ask for the same stuff when they submit the forms. So then, all of these changes the forms that I'm submitting to them too, so it's kind of interesting. It's fun. I don't really have anything else to say about that. I went back and did the justifications, like I said, they all add up now, and they got changed minorly at the most $700 in the equipment fund and the $150 in the general fund.
So this yellow section, the next year the equipment fund must be reviewed and continued or abolished will be 2024. So you're saying this year you have to do something?
No, it has to be reviewed every 10 years. So when we had Susan Shepherd come down here and audit us a few years back, she put that in there to remind us of that.
Okay.
So every 10 years that has to be either reviewed, and you either have to move the money back into the general fund or else just reaffirm that you want to keep using the equipment fund.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're not supposed to do it. The logical step, if you didn't use the reserve fund, would be to start collecting less taxes so we wouldn't bank any money for future use. And, we didn't talk much about that kind of terminology last time, but each fund has a contingency in it. The general fund has a $15,000 contingency, and the equipment fund has a $10,000. And those are for reasonably unexpected, but possible things that could happen. Say we lost a transmission on one of the trucks this year, and I needed $10,000. We could go back with that contingency, use that contingency without going through the supplemental budget process. We could, by resolution, our board could approve that $10,000 to be used within because it's already, it's appropriated in the general fund, but it's not allocated to any specific line item. And then the other one is down there, a little orange line, if you have a colored budget on the front page, and that's unappropriated end balance. And at the end of the year, they would like it if our general fund zeroed out, that we spent every single penny down to the penny, but you keep that $25,000 as your starter money for next year, because we don't get any tax money till November, so we have to have money to spend from July till November. So we actually keep a little more than that. We usually keep about $50,000 in there, because one thing that happens to us is all of our grants, we have to purchase them between June and December. So we have to buy all that equipment during that time. And that used to happen back 4 or 5 years ago. We didn't have the money to buy stuff during the fall until our tax money came in. So then in November, when about a 2-week period, you'd be buying everything you could as fast as you could. So, anyway. So when you get way down the bottom of the budget, it says unappropriated or reserved. That's money that's not allocated to be used this year. It's to be carried forward to the future. If we, in emergency, we had to get it, the board could do a supplemental budget process and open it back up if something catastrophic happened. One thing about the grant from, up in the general fund for the emergency power for the USDA, we started looking at it more. I haven't appointed to go down and see them here, but it looks like due to the size of our district, we may be able to get it as a grant, total grant with no match at all, or at least a 75% match on their part. So that'll be good. If that happens.
Questions on the budget? Is everyone satisfied? Is anyone dissatisfied about something? I'm happy with it. I think Steve does a real good job. Number 6 on our agenda, I think Steve just went through all of it pretty well. Is there any outside public visiting? I don't think so. Any more committee comments?
I just want to thank Steve for doing such a good job that we don't have to do very much in this committee. I think that's awesome.
Yes.
I think you guys are showing up. Because if we didn't, well, we would be stuck here with just our same board, right?
Yeah.
I hope that, in the past, we've had people that were maybe more confrontational or something, but I don't want people to overstand this, because that's not what should happen. It should be, everybody should look and have a look. It's our stuff here. And I'm probably as hard on myself as anybody else is, as far as not wanting to spend our tax dollars here.
If I might say, Steve, I think all the work you put into doing the justifications and explaining it made everything very clear for us. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yes. Yep.
You guys are always, I think most of you guys have been around here before, maybe not very so much, but you guys ever want to come down here and look and see what we have to do and what we have and anything, you're welcome.
Any more comment? I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed 19-20 budget that Steve has presented to us.
Make a motion.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the proposed 2019-2020 budget. Let's have a hand vote, if you would, please. All those in favor? The vote is unanimous. The motion carried. Item number 10, apparently we need a motion to set the tax rate. I didn't know what it was, so I asked Steve. It's 0.5077.
For somebody like me on our house, when it's assessed, that's about $78 a year, I pay.
Yeah.
And I'll say that 0.5077 is the lowest tax rate in Douglas County for fire service. Myrtle Creek has about a 0.0048, but they also have a cash contract with the city of Myrtle Creek, which brings it up over $1 something. So we kind of got left behind back when Measure 50 got passed in the 90s. Everybody had temporary option levies going at that time, and when that election went through, they made whatever levy you had, temporary or not, permanent. So, for example, 10 Mile has $1.65 per thousand, Camas has $1.65 per thousand. That's pretty much the next level up. But anyway, I
And
think.
so how long are we bound to this tax rate?
You cannot change the tax rate. You can do an temporary option levy, which we did back in about 2005 when we bought our equipment and stuff, up to 5 years for operation or capital equipment. And I think up to 10 years for administration, but we did a 5-year one. And as
So
long
who-
as we keep getting
Who
grants.
requested this amount? Was it,
When this district was formed back in the 80s, that was the original board, that's what they requested. And that's what the original election was approved in.
I guess the confusion is, why do we have to have a motion to set the tax rate if we can't change it?
Well,
right,
you can't, you can
We
lower
can
it.
lower it.
So-
Okay,
Yeah,
well.
that's
I
the
see,
max you
yeah.
can use, so
Okay.
if we don't wanna
but
carry
if
anything,
everyone else is $1 or something,
yeah.
and
If, just because we're the lowest, doesn't mean we need to raise it, by the way, I don't think. So, but as long as we keep getting grants and stuff, we're okay. And this, our operating budget at 50 cents, that operates this place. And we've been real
But then
fortunate.
there's
that-
no equipment, no update.
Nothing, none of the major capital equipment we can buy. Especially with that VFA grant every year, we can keep our protective equipment stuff up, but the major vehicles and stuff. If we don't get grants periodically, we're gonna have to do auction levy something 4, 5, or 6 years out. But it'd just be, rather than doing a general one like in the past, my thought would be that if we want a specific thing, let's do that. And make it small, just buy that thing, and then go back to, it's the voters that get to approve it or not. Anyway. So that's the only other option, and what's going on around the state is that if people merge, like if we merged with 10 Mile, we could assume get in on their tax break, but then our voters and their voters would both have to approve that. But if we don't merge, another thing people have been doing is dissolving their district. In fact, District 2 is going to try to do that maybe this fall, dissolve their district and reform at a higher rate. And that's pretty risky, because you have to have 2 votes, dissolve your fire district, and you have to vote to reform the fire district with a higher tax rate, and that's 2 pretty hard things to pull off.
And entertain a motion to approve the tax rate at .5077 per thousand.
Go ahead.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to set the tax rate for 2020 at .5077 per $1,000 of assessed value. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Anyone see any reason for another budget meeting next week?
what would
I
we
think-
discuss?
I think it's all done.
Okay.
That's what that need to be done.
Come back to eat something.
There you go.
All right, can we have a motion to adjourn?
We need
Oh,
to set
yes.
a budget date, budget hearing date.
Oh, thank you.
So.
I skipped that one.
As we say that, our next deal on the budget calendar is this week. I'll have to submit the LB1. And the LB1 is a form from the Department of Revenue. It's a summary of our budget for the last year, the one we're in current, and next year. But it's a real general summary of, I can't see it anyway, but it's resources, expenditures. You break down what, if it's what you're going to be spending for real, and what's going to be in reserve, and that's about it. Set your tax rate. And this goes into the paper as our notice, official notice, because at the very top it says when the notice is for the hearing. So this is the most expensive thing we do all year as far as notices, because the whole form has to go in the paper into the legal section, and they're usually pretty good about getting it down about there.
Pretty
But
tiny.
I mean, I saw a Kellogg the other day, I don't know who put theirs in, but they almost had this size in that paper, and that's probably a whole year's worth of notice money or something. So that ends up being about $345 or so to do our notice for our budget meeting. But that's the biggest part of that portion of our budget, public meeting notices.
Okay,
Anyway, that's a requirement.
so we have the 2019, 6:30 PM. What day of the week is that?
Is that the next
It's,
regular
uh,
scheduled
it's-
board meeting?
Yeah, it's a half hour.
Wednesday.
So it's a half hour before the regular board meeting?
Second Wednesday,
Okay.
second Wednesday in June.
Okay. Can I have a motion to set that date?
Make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to set the budget hearing date. This is a general public, correct?
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
public can comment, so, yeah.
For June 12th, 6:30 PM. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
That's easy.